Are you ready to make some chunky mittens? Let's go. Welcome to Zeens and Roger. This is a crochet tutorial for these chunky mittens using, surprise, surprise, chunky yarn, which I think is bulky in America, if I'm not mistaken. I have made 3 pairs and I'm going to talk you through a 4th pair using leftovers of chunky yarn stash, which is the same as the red pair actually, which is West Yorkshire Spinners Retreat. You can make a pair of mittens from one ball of 100 grams of yarn. So the West Yorkshire Spinners Retreat comes in 100 gram balls, and this is how much I had left over. I made this pair using a tweedy colour changing yarn. I've got this much left over from a 100 gram ball. This is Starcraft Carnival in the shade Parade. And this stuff, I only have this much left. This is King Cole Chunky Tweed, I think, but I lost the label. The difference between them is minimal in terms of meterage and yardage. So this one is 140 meters or 153 yards per 100 grams. This one is 145 meters or 158 yards per 100 grams. And this one is a touch plumper at 138 meters per 100 grams or 150 yards. And you can tell that it's slightly plumper than the other two. Not only because of the fact that, I nearly ran out of yarn. So I did have to watch my tension. But let's have a look at them all side by side. You can see this one is slightly thicker, but these two are pretty similar. And they made a good size mitten for an average woman's hand. I guess you could adjust. The only thing being is that beginning with multiples of 2 so you can get the post-stitch ribbing done properly. You could always knock off 2 stitches to make it slightly narrower. Here there's lots of repeats of just plain rows back and forth, so you could knock a couple of those off to make the mittens shorter and make a couple of little tweaks here and there to adjust the size. I did talk about these a little bit on a recent podcast. I can link that in the description box if you want to have a look at me talk about them in a bit more detail. The only thing I think I worked this pair first. Well, actually no, that's a lie. I have another pair. This is the mitten I made first, a genuine stash buster where I literally used every scrap of the colours that I could find just to use it all up. And these are a couple of rows longer, so you could do that as well if you've got more yarn. There's 2 more rows at the wrist here, but I've knocked those off to make sure that I can make one whole pair out of just one ball, because that's so much better, isn't it? And also I made a slight change to the thumb because my thumb went a bit pointy, and so I changed around to make it less pointy because I thought it looked weird. So yeah, lots of different ways you can do these. So change colour, don't change colour, use colour changing yarn, and if you wanted to, you could just make wrist warmers with these as well, and I'll talk you through that when we get to it. These mittens are super straightforward to make. You start from the cuff and work in the round, work upwards until you get to about here. And as you do work upwards, there's a few rounds where increases are made to incorporate the thumb space. When you reach this point, you split, just concentrate on the hand bit, make some decreases, and then at the end you gather to close. Same with the thumb, just obviously fewer rounds with not so many stitches. And then you do the same with the other one to get yourself a pair. I don't know if you can see that this is my join line here. And it's quite invisible, so yay. This of my leftovers, by the way, is about 14 grams or so. So I wasn't worried too much. When I made the brown pair, I was a bit worried about running out for the second mitten, but with this other yarn, plenty left over, so that's good stuff. I'm using two different hook sizes. I've got a 5mm hook and a 5.5mm hook. The 5mm hook is just for the ribbing, and then I swap to the larger hook size to make the main body of the mitten. If any of this is confusing, I do have a written pattern on my blog, so please do visit zeensandroger.com and you'll find the free pattern. Or if you wanted to buy an ad-free version, then that would be amazing, thank you. So here I have loads of stash, not necessarily in colours I like or love together, but it's what I've got, so let's just pop them all together and see how we get on. What I'm going to do is start with this yellow for my ribbing, because why not? Start the ribbing with my favourite method for starting most crochet, which is a foundation round or row. It's so much better than just making normal chains, honestly. It gives the cuff a nice little bit of stretch, and it is easy to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have got 4 chains on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over, insert the hook into the 4th chain from the hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. Then I'm going to repeat that by yarning over, insert the hook into the first 1 chain that you made and the stitch behind it. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, so effectively chaining 1. That will always be the stitch you work into for the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, like you would do for an ordinary US DC or UK treble. And you can see I'm kind of working perpendicular. I'm not working lengthways like that. It's sort of floating like it's bobbing up in the air. Just makes life a little bit easier. And I'm working across the bottom when I create all of these chains. This 1 chain here is the bottom. And this is my top stitches that I'm creating. I will work into these ones, and this will be the bottom. So when I say I'm working perpendicular to how it will sit eventually, I guess I'm just creating stitches by laying them on top of each other vertically, but eventually I'll be working into them that way. So I do this working into the chain 1 and the loop behind it. I'm going to do this 26 times because I want 26 stitches in total. And I count the first chain as a stitch as well, so you might want to pop a stitch marker into the first one just so you can see where it is, and make sure that you count it when you're counting your stitches. So this is what 26 stitches looks like. And what I'm going to do is fold it and join it so that it's in the round, and that's the stitch I want, the top of that first chain. I'm going to insert my hook into both loops, 1 and 2, to pull the yarn through those loops and then that active one on your hook, so that you join it like this. See this gap? Don't worry about that for now. I just use my yarn tail to sew it closed at the end. But for now it should look something like this. And you're going to chain 1 and into the first stitch, yarn over, and go under it like that, pop out through to make your first front post stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. If you want, add a stitch marker in there so you can see it when you come round again. For the next one, go through the back for a back post stitch. Front post for the next one, and you just go front post, back post, front post, back post all the way around. When I'm feeling fancy, I might do a 2x2 where I go 2 in the front, 2 in the back, 2 in the front, 2 in the back to create the same but different sort of ribbing. For a chunky mitten though, I don't think it's worth the bother. I would more likely do a 2x2 when the yarn is maybe a 4-ply or a sport weight. So you do this all the way around to create like a faux ribbing. But it's a winner. It will probably remain one of my favourite crochet ribs until the end of time. And because you've worked an even amount of stitches, you will have a nice seamless rib of front post, back post all the way around. So because I started with a front post, I end with a back post stitch. And this is where I would have my stitch marker if I was being well behaved. Take out the stitch marker, insert the hook to slip stitch to join. So that is 2 rounds of ribbing done so far. In total, we want 5 rounds of ribbing. And what you do for the next round is the same as the last one. Front post, back post stitch all the way around. And then you do the same for the last 2 rounds as well. So basically front post, back post, all the way around, join with a slip stitch again. And then you do that until you have 5 rounds. Here we go, 5 rounds in, and I want to join with a slip stitch to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. Insert the hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through. I would chain 1 and work into the first stitch, which is actually technically the slip stitch. You could work the first stitch into the actual first stitch, but then as you return it kind of leaves a little gap sometimes, so I work into the slip stitch as my first stitch, just so you know. And then I do half doubles all the way around. That's half trebles to UK peeps. Now I do have lots of stash. I do have a little bit of stash, so I will be needing to change colour at some point. But the quickness of these mittens and the ability to just do it with one ball of yarn means that I do actually prefer them just in one colour. There are a few different ways you can change colour, and I have yet to decide on which one my favourite is, so you can always just choose your favourite way. All I'm doing is doing half stitches all the way around. So you yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 to make your half double. And you should have 26 stitches by the end. There are so few stitches that it takes seconds to count your stitches after every round just to double check, and I would recommend doing that because it's easy to add stitches in random places sometimes. Last stitch and then join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. And as before, you should probably use a stitch marker, but let's just be certain. Yep. Insert the hook, join with a slip stitch, chain 1 to start, and do another round of just normal stitches without any increases. One way to change colour is to do it on the last stitch of the round. So what shall I do? Let's go for this taupe colour. And we are now on an increase round as well. So let's finish off the last stitch of this row, which is row 5, 6, 7, and yarn over and pull through with a new yarn, slip stitch to join. You don't have to change colour like this, as I say, and you don't have to change colour at all. Chain. Let's go 1/2 double in the first stitch. In the next stitch, work 2 stitches. So that's your first increase there. Just 1 stitch in the next place, followed by another increase here. 1, 2. Then you're going to work a bunch of normal stitches all the way around, and then in the last stitch you're going to do another increase, so that for this round 8, we've got 3 increases just in this space here, because we're creating a thumb space effectively. So I've gone all the way around, I'm on the last stitch, and I'm going to work the final increase, 1, 2, and join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. I've now got 29 stitches in total going around, and the next round there are no increases. So this is round 9, no increases. I'm on the last stitch and I've decided to change colour again. I think I'm going to go for this purple. The next row, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, row 10 is an increase round, and it's exactly the same as row 8. So it's chain 1, 1 stitch in the first space, followed by an increase, 1 stitch in the next stitch, increase, 1, 2, and I'm going to crochet all the way around to the last stitch where I make another increase. At the end of this round, that's, oh my god, what is that? 32 stitches. Round 11 is no increases. Round 12 just has 1 increase, and it's at the beginning. So chain 1, work a stitch, then 2 stitches in the next one to do that first and only increase of this round. So then there's 33 stitches all around. And then after this round we're going to split for the thumb, which is very exciting. Okay, so as normal, join with a slip stitch. going to get rid of these ends, poke them through the other way. Okay, so if you take a look at the mitten so far, you can see the increases that we made are here, and that's creating that thumb space. So to separate it from the rest of the mitten, insert your hook into the space where you've made your slip stitch. Count 8 stitches to miss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put your hook in the next stitch. So it looks something like that. Then yarn over. You want to pull the yarn all the way through the spaces and chain 1. So you've now got thumb hole space and a space for your main hand. Turn the work, and the first half double, UK half treble you're going to make is into the same space as the slip stitch. Insert the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now you can put a stitch marker in there if you want. I mean, you may have noticed a pattern in that I'm not, and that's because I can't find one. They're all downstairs. So half treble around in the main hand bit. We'll worry about the thumb at the end. So by the end, I'm going to work the last stitch in here. Here's the first stitch on the other side of the thumb hole. Work the last stitch in here, and you should have 25 stitches in the main part. Join with a slip stitch, and then work 4 more rows without any shaping. Rounds. Okay, so here's my split here, and then after that I start again with the numbered rows just to make it easier. So this row here, the first row after the split, becomes row 1. So then it's row 2, 3, 4 and 5, and goodbye. So 5 normal rounds, and then the next round is a decrease. And it's taken me this long to realise that I'm still using the 5mm, and I never changed up to the 5mm, 5.5. And I'm distraught, but I'm not going to redo all of this with a 5.5. I'm just not. I've just tried it on, and it'll be fine. With a bit of wear it will stretch, but it's on the tight side, especially at the thumb. So please don't be me. Please remember to switch to a 5.5mm hook for the main body of the pattern. I feel like a fool. I'm really upset with myself, but I shall soldier on. So we're at round 6. Chain 1, 1 normal stitch. The next stitch is a decrease. The decrease is worked across the next 2 stitches. So yarn over, as I already have done, insert the hook into the first stitch, yarn over and pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook. Insert the hook into the next stitch and yarn over to pull through. You've got 4 loops on your hook. I just yarn over and pull through seamlessly all through all 4 loops. And you've made a decrease there. So at the end of this round there will be 24 stitches, not 25. So for this round 6 there is just 1 decrease. We're going to up it slightly for a couple more rows later. The next round, round 7, no decreases, it's just normal. The other thing I've almost forgotten to mention, and I've worked on a bit too far, before you get to the decrease round here, This is the one we decreased. If you wanted to make wrist warmers, just stop around here. You don't need to add anything on your thumb either, and you've got yourself wrist warmers straight away. So that would be before you get to round 6. You could stop about here. And then they're wrist warmers. Ta-da! But let's crack on and make the mittens. Right, I'm on round 8 now, and that is a decrease round. So 1 normal stitch in the first stitch, followed by a decrease over the next 2 stitches. Then we're going to work 8 half doubles. That's UK half trebles, which is why I almost went there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then another decrease, and then normal stitches to the end. So 2 decreases for this one, which takes us to 22 stitches around. And you can see how quick these mittens they are to make up. You could probably make a few pairs in a day if you were that way inclined. I'd probably get sick of them, to be honest with you, but you could definitely make loads very quickly. So chain 1, we're on to another normal round, and then after this round there's only 2 more to go, and they are both decrease rounds. Row 9 is normal. Round 10, I've chained 1 half double and a decrease, 7 half doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, followed by another decrease, 1, 2, boop, and then normal stitches all the way to the end before joining. Round 11 is exactly the same. This is round 10. Round 11 is a repeat. So we're not going and going and going until we run out of stitches, because I'll show you what we do when we finish off the next round. So join with a slip stitch. We're on to the last round now. So 1 stitch, decrease, 1, 2, 3. So join with a slip stitch, and then leave a tail that's about that long. Boop. What's that? I don't know, 10 inches, something like that. About that. Fasten off by pulling through that tail and pulling tight. That should be 18 stitches to finish, if my maths is right. I'll show you how to close in a moment, but before we do, let's just quickly finish the thumb. I'll do it all in the same shade as this. I'm not going to bother changing colour because there's only 5 rounds. It seems a bit silly, so I'm just going to join that, make a little slip knot, and I shall join the yarn here by pulling through, chain 1, and then I can crochet over this end as I go. Oops, but don't try and use it. So we're going to do 8 stitches around the thumb hole. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is probably the fiddliest bit, I would say. I think I've counted to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's our 8th stitch. So insert the hook into the first stitch if you can, and then slip stitch to join, chain 1. Round 2 of the thumb hole is the same as round 1, so 8 half double stitches. 1, 2, 3. And when it gets fiddly, it means my stitches don't flow as well. So if you grab it however feels comfortable. And then I think that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Join to the first one. Chain 1. This is round 3 of the thumb, so we're going to just do 1 decrease. So that's a normal stitch for the first stitch, and then we'll decrease across the next 2 stitches. I am not going to do any more decreases. I did, you know how I said those 2 brown gloves, the thumbs were different. The pointier one had 2 increases and I didn't like that, so I've taken it out. So now playing with 7 stitches in the round. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that was the decrease round, which was round 3. Oops. Join with a slip stitch. And there's 2 more rounds that are normal rounds. 7 for both. Round 5 is the last round of the thumb. I think it's probably feeling a little bit tighter because I'm using the wrong sized hook. Sigh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If this, obviously, if it looks too fiddly, then you know stitch markers are your friend. Again, that's like, well, this one's about 12 inches long. Way too much for a thumb. That's all the crocheting elements. So now we just need to join the thumb and the top of the mittens so that they are proper mittens and not just weird things with holes on the top. So get yourself a darning needle that has an eye big enough for chunky yarn. And then what we're going to do is go under the front loops of every single stitch. I can see a hair, it's annoying me. Does anyone else have that problem? Hairs everywhere. Front loop is a lot more discreet than both loops or back loop. Less bulky too. So I've gone through all of those. So gently pull closed. If you are using this West Yorkshire Spinners stuff, it's like a roving yarn, not a ply. So there have been times when I've pulled on it and it's like disintegrates in front of my eyes. So you've got to be really careful with it. I think a lot of it is like if you're too gentle with it, that's when it tends to kind of break away from itself. So like treat it mean to keep it keen. I mean, also experiment and make sure that it is behaving itself. You do not want this close to unravel. So I spend an inordinate amount of time weaving this end in and out discreetly again so that you can't see the stitches that you're making, and just go around and around, provided you're not like showing the yarn. And then if you want to, and like just try and make sure it's taut the whole time, feel free to then go back on yourself to really confuse it into staying shut. So do that all the way around as much as you feel fit to do so, like when you're super confident that it's definitely not going anywhere. And then insert the hook into the center. No, it's not called a hook, is it? It's a needle. Insert the hook into the needle and then bring it through to finish off the sewing in of the ends on the inside. And it's practically invisible. And then you're going to do the same on the thumb. I've got way too much yarn end here. Don't need all of this, do I? Exactly the same. Even on the knot, you can go into the front loop of the knot. It's getting a bit dark now. The sun's gone around the other side of the house. So it's a good job I'm nearly finished. That's the fastening off knot, which I could have done an invisible join, but I haven't. I always forget how to do them. And then again, sewing that end in so you know that it's not going to go anywhere. And when you've done this until you're sick of it, take it to the inside of the mitten where you're gonna sew in the ends. And then, like, I could have popped that through to the wrong side as well. And when you do so, make sure you're not just popping it anywhere. It needs to be out of the way. So depending on whether or not you've changed colour, you're going to have some ends. Ha ha ha. Sew those in on the inside. And then also we need to finish it off by joining this very first opening stitch. So again, it's just a question of going in and out with a few stitches until you're confident that it's definitely not going to budge. Take it to the inside, and I just bung the needle anywhere it's going to be hidden and not seen. And then again, because I'm worried about it coming undone, I probably overdo this. But it's better to be safe than sorry. So continue sewing in the ends, la-di-da-di-da. with the thumb, just so I don't stab that needle in anywhere and cause weird obstructions in the mitten when you're wanting to wear them, my finger is in there, and I'm just kind of running the darning needle along my finger so I know it's not going into the stitches, it's actually being pressed against my finger instead. So I know it's not being shoved in anywhere. And then I would turn the mitten inside out. But again, see, if I had done, and this is yeah, like I say, this is a life lesson for all of us, but remember to change the hook sizes, because this mitten, this wristband would then be, you see the difference, wide and ugly compared to this, pinched in slightly, more shapely and pretty. Remember to change hook. When sewing in the ends, I literally turn it inside out. Give this a bit more extra attention. And it doesn't matter too much about sewing these in that neatly, I suppose. Just catch a few strands one way, maybe a few more going that way if you'd prefer, and then catch a few going the other way. You can do that a few more times if you like, but I think that would be okay. There you go, and you got your mittens done. And if you've made it this far, thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you make lots of mittens. See you again another time. Cheerio. Bye-bye.